What is up, guys? Heath with Lake Champlain Sanitation here, and on today's video, we're up in New Hampshire. I'm hanging out with Ben Davis of Freedom Dumpsters. As you guys can see behind me, he's got this international truck. We're gonna get into talking a little bit about that. He's also got some pretty cool equipment on other pieces of his property here. Ben just started this business less than a year ago. This is another trash talk episode. I hope you guys like the series. Without further ado, let's hop into it and talk to Ben. All right, guys, so I'm here with Ben Davis of Freedom Dumpsters. We're out in New Hampshire today. The wife and I are actually on our way to a little family vacation, and Ben hit us up a couple videos ago and said, come on out if you're on your way, and it just happened to work out perfect. We're sitting here in his yard right now. Ben's been in business since January of this year. So just in a few short months, he's already acquired 14 dumpsters. We've got his hook lift truck behind me. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. And he's currently still doing this as a side hustle. So for you guys out there that are wondering, you know, if you can run a dumpster business and have a job, Ben's living proof of that. And without further ado, Ben, let's talk about your startup story and why you wanted to get into the dumpster business.
Yeah, so I mean, I was looking at getting out of just being behind a desk. I'm an engineer by education, mechanical engineer, and I was working on, you know, field service type stuff for food and beverage packaging. And I got tired of, you know, being willing to put in 50, 60, 70 hours a week and you're on salary. And I just was having trouble staying inspired, you know? So I wanted to kind of be in charge of my own destiny. And that kind of, you know, originally one of the YouTube channels, American AF and you actually, were kind of the things that inspired me. I was going to start this with a roll-off trailer in my 3/4 ton Dodge, and this thing fell into my lap from a friend of a friend, and by the way, definitely the way to go. I have a roll-off trailer for a backup, and I don't like it. But basically, I started it up with 4 dumpsters, just trying to kind of bootstrap it and do it after work, and I have a really accommodating employer at the time, and we're actually just coming to the point where we're parting ways because I'm at the point where I can. And so shout out to Ironheart Canning. Those guys have been so awesome to me. My manager, the owners of the company, thank you. But so we're just getting to the point where we're parting ways. I'm up to 14 dumpsters, and it's just been a hustle and a grind. A lot of 70, 80, 90 hour weeks turning and burning, but definitely worth it. You know, I think if you have a good market to work in and you're willing to put in the effort, it's a good business.
Now, we were just talking before we started recording. I found this interesting, but I did the same exact thing Ben did. He has yet to actually take a paycheck from the profits of this business, and it sounds like just by looking around, we're going to show you guys a dumpster, his roll-off trailer, and his truck. You've acquired a good amount of equipment, and you probably couldn't have done that if you were spending the money you were making on your personal life. But having that key paycheck, be it it's only 15 to 30 hours,
Yep.
You know, you lived within your means, and it sounds like, how important do you think that is when starting up, especially bootstrapping it, you know, as aggressively as you did in a few months? How important is that for everybody watching to get the equipment you've acquired with basically no debt whatsoever?
Yeah, you know, I've heard you mention this in a couple other videos, the Dave Ramsey baby steps, or at least the Dave Ramsey mentality on personal finances. And before I even started my own business, I was living well beneath my means. I had my truck paid off that I bought new within a couple years. And really my only loan that I have outside of the business was for my house. So that put me in the place where I could afford to go the last 8 months, taking whatever I could make from doing between 5 and 30 hours a week at my day job and doing the rest of this. You know, I've been surviving on $200 to $600 a week since then because I keep my personal bills low, and I do live very humbly. And now I'm at the point where, you know, where I'm parting ways with my employer, and I'm ready to start taking a paycheck. And actually, it can be a healthy paycheck where I can save for my future, save for my next house, slowly, albeit, but I'm not scrapping every single dollar. I have a good cash reserve for buying equipment. I have an F600 just like yours coming in. The lady emailed me 10 minutes ago and said it's coming in next Friday, and I just put an order in for dumpsters. And all that is because I was real scrappy at the beginning. I bought all used equipment. I fixed it up. I worked real hard outside of driving dumpsters around to make it happen.
Man, that is awesome to say that right there.
And you know, to add on to that, it all comes down to the family and people supporting you too. My girlfriend has been incredibly helpful with accommodating both my crazy work hours and just helping me paint dumpsters when I ask her to. She'll put the respirator on, you know. My stepdad will come up here and do work on them with me. My mom will be painting the letters on the side. it's a team effort. It's all who you know in life, and you know, I have some other things to talk about for knowing your competition too. That kind of ties into that as well.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the competition in your area, because like coming into town, almost like my small area, it seems like my town, this town, Northfield, right?
Yep.
We're in Northfield, New Hampshire, guys, and this isn't a booming city with millions and millions of potential customers. And I saw a couple different dumpsters on my way into town, similar to the area I live in, where there's a few people that have businesses, be it we all got a few big guys, we all got a few small guys. Of course, myself and Ben at this time, we're both small guys still. What's your competition look like, and what are some things you've been able to get the edge on them?
So we've got, you know, the typical 3 big guys: Waste Management, Casella. Around us, there's a company called Dumpster Depot. They're not national, but they have, you know, 10 triaxles. Those guys, I don't really worry about them because their overhead is so high, they can't come even close to competing on price. Now we've also got like 3 or 4 smaller guys that all have, you know, it's like a Venn diagram. They all have their radiuses, and we're all kind of up in each other's business a little bit. But the thing that I've found that enables this market to be functional for me is I'm not undercutting prices. That was one of my main lessons to share with everybody. You don't need to go in under. People, I find, don't tend to really price shop. Maybe it's 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 that do. What makes the difference is if you put out a good service, you know, they text you text them right back, stuff like that. And the other thing is, especially when you're small, I highly recommend, if you're in a weird rural area like me, we've got the White Mountains in New Hampshire, and there's nobody up there for services. So just today, I made a 1.75 hour each direction trip to go do a swap out. And you know, that sounds like a lot of time for one dumpster, but for us, you know, that's $1,000+ job for me. For the included cost of tonnage, you know, I do 2 tons included. That's $320 for me. So there's a lot of profit there if you're small and you're not strapped for drivers and driving hour time. You can take a lot of that stuff that no one else will. And I've had a bunch of jobs like that. So, and then, you know, knowing your competition is huge too, because I've had, you know, one company that I don't really know the guy, one that we're friendly, you know, I called him because he had a truck for sale, and we got to chat, and he's a sweet, good dude. And my buddy Matt down at Dump It Rentals in Concord, anyone who's in Concord points south, I highly recommend giving him a call. He's an awesome dude, and making friends with your competitors can really save your butt sometimes. Early on in April in this business, I was just starting to get some momentum from spring, from our mud month around here where the roads are posted and no one can do anything really. And my truck broke down. It ended up being a cam sensor, but to find that, it was many, many hours of diag in a shop and mobile service guys coming out and tows, and they said they fixed it, but it kept breaking down. And during that time, wow, was I glad that I made friends with Matt at Dump It Rentals. That guy saved my butt. He probably did 40 hours of driving for me, and wouldn't take anything but the cost of fuel, and I forced him to take a bottle of whiskey as a thank you. And so we continuously help each other out. If he overschedules his, I'll lend him a can. I'll do some driving for him, and you know, making friends is everything in life, and especially in business for me.
That's just it, dude. I love the story. Guys, what we're gonna do, we're gonna hop into the truck and the dumpsters. We're gonna talk about, he's actually got a pretty interesting dumpster body just behind the camera. We're gonna spin it around, and it's been modified from a dump truck body. We'll show you guys that, and I want him to just explain where he found this truck and what it is, and a little bit of the specs on this International behind us here.
Good.
All right, man. So tell us a little bit about this beast that you got behind you here.
All right, so I got this for a little under $20,000. It's 2001 International 4700 LP. That just means it's got the smaller wheels and tires, and that it breaks you back on the bumpy roads. It's a 25,500 GVW under CDL. My whole operation is under CDL. I don't have one, and I don't want to deal with employing CDL drivers because of the cost, and they're hard to get. And for me, I've only had to, you know, take 1 or 2 loads ever that were questionable weight-wise. So things I like about this truck: it's old school. I can fix anything on it. When I got this thing, I did a turbo on it. I replaced a whole bunch of other stuff, valves for the lift. Really easy to work on. Things I don't like: it's 350,000 miles. The cab rot is very questionable, and things getting either retired or put out for some repairs as soon as my new truck comes in.
Can we see the inside real quick?
Absolutely.
Let's check out the inside of this. You guys that are out there running brand new equipment, or you've seen a video with our nice Bluetooth radio, check this badass thing out.
Yep,
Look at this. This is a man's truck right here.
Screwed to the dash, pretty much just as it came from the last guy, and it's been really low maintenance. It's whatever, you know, the bare minimum to get the job done and look presentable.
Yep.
And you know, obviously I wouldn't want my customers to go and have to sit in the passenger seat all torn up and look at all my stuff strewn everywhere. But the reality is you kind of live in these things, and these old trucks kind of toss themselves apart. So it's nothing luxury. There's no leather in there, and it hurts to drive for 10 hours, but it makes all that new equipment really appreciated when the time comes.
You're gonna be pumped on that F600. I know it already. So let's talk about the body. What kind of do you know the brand of this hook?
Yeah, so this is a Stellar. I want to say a 16,000 pound hoist, 36 hook. You know, you can tell this thing has been around the block for 20 plus years. I ran the serial number through Stellar's guys over there. This thing is one of the earliest ones that they made in this style.
Wow.
The cylinders kind of leak down, but they're not worth repacking yet. The bushings are worn out, but it gets the job done, and it's structurally there. And that's what matters to me. The tarper, as you can probably see from looking at it, it's totally homemade. You know, you can spend $3,500 to $5,500 on a hydraulic adjustable tarper these days. I put this together with about a $350 tarp arm kit, and just my welder and probably $100 worth of steel. So,
now is this all roll out?
Yeah, so the arms are spring loaded.
Yep.
So it just pulls it back as the handle unwinds, and then it's a hand crank to reel it back up. There's no height adjustability, although I have my own home cooked adjustable height one coming for the new truck.
You do?
Yeah,
okay.
That's homemade as well, with, you know, linear actuators and a $600 power tarp kit. So,
dude, I'll give it to you and all the guys out there that are more mechanically savvy than myself. You guys know, like my tarp kit alone was like $6 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Ferrari, but you pay for it. And
man,
this,
I used to hand tarp loads, and let me tell you, speaking of things that make you look unprofessional in front of a customer, trying to pull a Harbor Freight mesh tarp over a hand-built and repaired dumpster with sharp edges and climbing on top of loads in the winter, trying to unsnag it from the nails from the demo job, it's not worth it. You look like a fool, you waste your time, and it's unsafe in winter. That was a big deal.
I see these guys running around. They don't even have a tarp. Like, he's at least got the tarp. They have no tarp on the hook truck. I don't know what they're doing. Like, they must be doing every one on the ground and then having to climb up and untarp it.
That's what I used to do. And
amazing.
Honestly, the guy that drove this truck from new for the first 300,000 miles of its life, he hand tarped every load. He's got 3 trucks and he's still doing it.
Wow.
It's a lot of labor because he's paying drivers. It doesn't make sense to me, but
absolute savage. Well, we saw the truck. We'll give you guys a quick walk around of it, and I want to go see that roll-off trailer and talk a little about that, because you've got pretty much the best of both worlds, because a lot of people ask us on the channel, what do you start with? And you know, you've got both, and you got another truck coming already. It's amazing what you've accomplished in just a few short months, and you're still working. That's what I think is should be noted here, guys.
Thank you. And you know, I gotta say a big thank you to my father. My father gave me a loan to start this operation. That's the only other debt that I have aside from my mortgage. He gave me 60 grand to start this.
Yep.
And I'm a good chunk into paying him off already. And you know, I'm taking a loan out for the new truck. It's all a balance with the finances, guys. If you're really gonna pour yourself into this and you've established that the market is gonna work with you where you're at, I took a loan out on the truck to pay cash on dumpsters. It's all about where do you want to allocate it and how leveraged do you want to be. I want a very small amount of my revenue to have to go to a mandatory payment so that in winter when it slows down, I'm not like sweating. But at the same time, you don't want to tie up all your cash trying to pay for everything in cash and drive something like this for 3 years while you try and save. Meanwhile, the frame breaks in half or something.
And if this truck does break down, which of course you paid, you know, cash for this, or you use the
Yep.
personal loan for this, whatever, you got to have cash to pay that sub. If you're gonna have a subcontractor come in, hire some, you know, you want to have enough liquid cash to, most financial people say 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9 months, depending on how aggressive you run things. And that's just it, guys. Whether your expenses are 2 grand a month or 20 grand a month, you can do the math on what you should have set aside. So,
and it's a nice business model because your recurring expenses outside of dump fees, which come with the revenue, it's insurance, it's what you need to feed and put a roof over your head, and you know, there's other little stuff, but those are the main ones. So if you keep those expenses around, I have like 6 months of personal finances kicking around, and I have probably right now 10 months of business finances kicking around, but that's because I got some cash purchases coming up.
Sure. No, that's awesome, man. We'll now hop into the dumpster and the trailer over here. All right, guys. So Ben's gonna break down this army looking. I mean, this thing looks like it went through a war zone, dude. This thing is badass. I like how it's got the stars, the freedom on it, and it just looks. This thing looks like it's ready to cut you up. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
And that's you know, one of those insurance liabilities you got to think about with your customers and your employees. But put that aside. This is what I believe to be a 1960s dump truck body. Don't look at the welds too close. They're not mine. Somebody else converted this thing to a 36 hook bin, and so it's a little bit of a funny shape. You know, it's got all the weird bracketry on the tailgate from what used to be, you know, opening like a dump truck style, with the opening at the bottom to spread gravel, and now somebody's booger welded this big hinge on here. But,
oh yeah.
But you know what? When it comes down to bins, guys, there's something to be said for looking professional with shiny equipment. I do believe that. I have new bins on order myself. But to get in, I mean, this gets the job done every time. And if you're handy like I am, and you can put a new floor in this thing, and when the hinge weld cracks, you can just touch it up for free, basically. You know, there's a lot to be said for that. And when you're bootstrapping and you're trying to do things, you know, with as little risk as possible, leverage-wise, that's what it's all about.
For sure, man. No, this thing is sick. And as you guys can see, he's obviously doing pretty good because 1 of 14 dumpsters is in the yard, and this is a Friday, so odds are this thing's going to be going out
today, and it's going out this afternoon.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. So it doesn't matter how fancy it is, guys. It's getting the bins out the door and making sure the customers are happy. Guys, so we have got his trailer here. This is his backup unit, and it's going to be his backup unit, it sounds like, real soon.
Yeah, it's for sale if anyone's interested.
Here, what do you want for it? Put you on the spot.
I'd like to get what I paid for it, and that's really it, because I paid for a premium when my truck was actively broken down. So if I can get 15 for it, it's a 2021 or 2020 Bison, 16,000 pound bumper pull, electric winch, electric over hydraulic dump, 36-inch rails, so it's compatible with all the dumpsters you're going to get in the future.
Yep.
17,000 pound winch, not a 12,000, and it's a Smitty built. It's not a Harbor Freight or anything. Good battery, and it comes with the, you know, beefy power hookup. If anyone's in one of these and you don't have this like 0 gauge
charges on the fly,
yeah, it charges the full amount of power that winch is drawing. Is coming mostly from the truck batteries and the alternator.
That's great.
I run this thing for 10 hours straight, and it's never gotten low on battery because of that.
Well, if you guys can see, obviously, like through the video here, I mean, I'm looking at it in person. I don't think the camera does it justice, but this thing is very beefy compared to the PJ setup. I mean, naturally, it's a 2,000 pound heavier duty trailer with the same winch that came on the PJ. But if any of you guys on the East Coast or the West Coast, wherever you guys are watching from, want a standard rail trailer to get yourself started, 15 grand is a good deal, especially with a tarping system on it already. That's a really low cost barrier of entry.
When I was shopping around for these, shopping from Bison, they were quoting me in the 20s, and that was a few months ago. So,
okay.
Now, if you're thinking about doing this or a truck right off the bat, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I'm so glad that I did the truck. And the interchange between this and the truck is not always as easy as you think, because it's cable style versus hook. Not many bins are both, some are. And you know what I have to do to use this with my bins is throw a chain around the front of the dumpster main rails and pull from that, and talk about things that don't really look professional and take a lot of time in the customer's driveway.
Yep.
You know, and the maneuverability is awful. You know, I'm doing a lot of these crazy driveways in here, and
yeah,
you get it done. And if you're a good driver, you can get it done. But if you're not used to trailering a lot, then it's going to be an issue.
So I like that point, because guys, like a lot of you that have followed the channel for a while, when I started with the residential, built up the recurring revenue, then bought the trailer, I didn't know anything about hook lift trucks or roll-off trucks. All I'd seen is the big tandem axle trucks coming into my landfill. So I thought my only option realistically, and it was financially, my only option was to start with a trailer and one dumpster. Now that I have a hook lift truck, granted my hook lift truck's new, his hook lift truck coming is new. His truck he has back there, I mean, if you're a little bit mechanically savvy, you're actually going to get into the setup for very similar cost, and you're going to put yourself months, if not years ahead down the road by not having to switch bins. Like my PJ bins would not work on his hook lift truck. But standard rail hook lift bins, 36-inch or 54-inch hook, depending on what you have, as long as you get that hook height right, you can buy bins right off the get for a hook lift truck, and you can keep expanding your trucks. In a big tandem axle hook lift truck can pick up the same bin if it's small enough, or I'm sorry, the tandem axle can pick up the small bin just like it can the big bin if you ever get to that level. If not, if you're gonna stay under CDL like myself and Ben do, then you, right out of the gate, 20 grand, get you set up with a truck, and the bins are the same price, if not less, because you can source the bins different places, as I've said many times in these videos. So this trailer is for sale, guys, 15 grand. If anybody's interested, Ben's contact for his business will be below in the description. You guys can reach out to him and get yourself set up, but both of us are on the same page when it comes to starting out with a hook lift truck or a cable truck is much easier in the long run. A little more expensive maybe, but down the road you get your money back.
And if you're debating between 36 and 54 hooks on your bins or on the truck that you're going to buy, I got a 36 set up because it's the truck that I could get cheap from a friend of a friend. Shout out Lance, AGC Dumpsters in Connecticut. I would recommend what I did with my new truck, which is a dual hook truck, and try to set your business up with a 54 setup. Advantage to the 36 hooks, they're cheap to get used if you're gonna do like I did and get used stuff and fix it. The 54 stuff though is what all my competitors use, and if I gotta help him out or he's gotta help me out, like when my truck broke down, he could help me out, I couldn't help him. I had a 36 only truck and all his stuff is 54. So dual truck, really nice, 54, slightly better. In general, cable pull's a little bit of a pain.
Okay, awesome, Don. That's a good point, guys. So you kind of just stopped me and we had to talk about gas or diesel. So why don't you just tell me what you got to say already?
So when I was in high school, I was a diesel bro. I had the big lifted 4-wheel drive diesel truck that was blowing smoke. Listen, guys, if you're making money on this, forget about the fuel efficiency difference between gas and diesel. Purchase price, emissions, and the ability to fix your stuff when it breaks down, even late model stuff, that's everything. I have friends who have $150,000 trucks that are parked for 4 months at a time because they can't get a DEF sensor. You can't delete it or you're gonna have huge problems when DOT stops you. For me and Luke, we got the gas F600, and they even put that engine in the big medium duty Fords. And there's comparable stuff from the early 2000s if you need a cheap starter truck that has gas engines. You know, look at Chevy 6500s and stuff with the big block. My truck is a diesel. That's because it was the thing that fell into my lap. I wouldn't go the same way again. I've already had some horrendous repair bills on it that you don't even want to see. So if you're looking at this like I want the fun 3/4 ton pickup to tow my trailer with, and you know I'm towing all the time, it's worth it, and you're kind of romanticizing that horsepower, that purchase price and the repair price, that's all a tax on fun. And just know it if you're paying that price that you're doing it for fun, and there's no real difference in capability or profit.
I love it. I love it. And 100% right, guys, just so I can chime in on this, the 7.3 that I have and our compactor with the Cummins diesel, granted the Cummins is running around loaded a little more often. They are exactly the same fuel mileage. Hopefully, knock on wood, the Cummins is reliable, but I will say that 7.3 gas, plenty of power. We've had that thing maxed out on legal capacity with like 4.5 ton. Put it in tow haul mode, no problems whatsoever, guys. We do only haul 15-yard dumpsters. The one that we showed you here was a 12, but I'm pretty sure 10, 12, 15, maybe a junk removal 20, that truck's not gonna have a problem. So I second Ben's opinion definitely on the gas versus diesel in the under CDL market, of course. So before we get into your future goals and wrap this video up, tell us a little bit about this machine behind you, because this thing's on another level, man.
This is what pulls that roll-off trailer.
Stop.
Not commercially, but yes, in the town parades.
Imagine that. That's badass.
So this was actually the truck that my dad drove to high school, and it's stayed in the family ever since then. A couple years ago, or last year, I converted it to 4-wheel drive, and I do use it. So now it's kind of the parade mascot. Park it on the curb when the weather's nice. You know, I don't have a sign in front of the business because it's my personal house, but sometimes I'll put it out there just so people can see the name.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. So let's talk about, let's just take, we're going to go in 2 steps here. When, if you do know, do you want to leave the day job? And then what's your 12-month plan over the next year?
Yeah, so I mean, right now, because this month's been slammed, I've only been at my day job like 4 hours a week. Again, shout out to my boss there. Thank you for the flexibility. I'm leaving there on August 10th, and then stuff's getting real. You know what I mean? I think I can do it. I'm not, in a bad spot. I'm a little worried about the slowness of winter, but long-term goals here, I'm gonna bootstrap it through the winter and through mud season, which if you're in the Northeast, things stop in March and late February. Come April, that's when I really picked up last year. I'm gonna try and hire a driver. Probably gonna put him in that thing once I get some of the issues fixed up, and I'll take the nice truck. And then, you know, to go from there, my goal is pretty much to stay. I know Heath does a lot of residential pickup, and that seems like a really cool business. I'm trying to perfect the art of this dumpster rental and get as much market saturation as I can. And once I feel like I'm at that point, I don't need to constantly be buying trucks, dumpsters, and drivers. I think the next thing for me is either going to be getting a excavator and doing building demolition, where I, you know, sign my contract, I'm showing up, I'm tearing down the house that's been burned down, I'm putting it in dumpsters, getting it gone, you get one bill at the end. I got to investigate if the market is there for that, but that's kind of seems like a cool way to go. And you know, after that, I'd like to take my house, rent that out as a single family, and get the house that I really want to live in for the next 50 years. And then you know, just the profit on the rent on the house, that pays my personal finances for the way that I like to live, and the business can stay self-contained and grow, you know. And we'll take it 5 years at a time. If 5 years from now I feel like I want to sell this business and someone makes a great offer, I'm not opposed to that. But right now I'm real happy chugging along.
That is awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day for us to stop by and do this video with you. You got some awesome stuff here between the trucks and the parade truck, the trailer, all the equipment. You know, congrats on all the success so far. In less than 12 months, acquiring everything you're acquiring is very unheard of, especially in such a capital intensive business. So yeah, we really want to say thanks, Ben.
And big thanks to, you know, my dad for the ability to start this business, my mom and her boyfriend for helping me get the equipment off the ground, the guys who helped me find that truck, my boss for his flexibility. A lot of stars had to align, and if I have one piece of advice for everybody, it all comes down to relationships. Even if it's not in the dumpster business, but you have a good relationship with somebody, it's gonna pay off, and karma's a real thing. So
awesome, man. Well, we appreciate it very much.